Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new live stream. I got something that I think many of you are gonna like. Well, if you're here, I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it. But we're gonna start with tradition. Tell me where you're from and what's in your cup as we wait for people to shuffle in. I am drinking Earl Grey tea, back to basics. And I'm here in New York City. That's kind of like summer again, but yesterday was not, but today might be. I don't know what it is, but I'll take it. As we get closer to summer, I am happier. So tell me where you're from, what's in your cup. I'm really curious. And we're going to wait for people to shuffle in. And then we're going to talk about keyword research. The one question I get I get emails about, and at pretty much every possible channel there is to get to me is always flooded with questions about keyword research every day, all day, including weekends. It's a lot of fun, and I'm going to, one, show you the basics, and then I'm going to take your questions. So make sure you have good questions and start dropping them into the chat very, very soon. But let's see, where is everyone from, and what's in your cup, and where's my mouse? Okay, I found my mouse. Latte in Oklahoma, good. Starting local here in the US. In Vietnam, wow, very cool. Monster Energy drink. I haven't had one of those in a million years. You know, let's bring these up on the screen. It's been a while since I put comments on the screen. Where are my comments? Comments are here. There we go. Okay. Green tea in Spain. Hello from Switzerland. Hello. Coffee in Casablanca. Nice. Hello from Croatia. Hello from Turkey. International again. Cappuccino in Kiev. Black coffee in Canada. Water in Mexico. Water is good. Water is fine. Definitely allowed. Pakistan is in the house. Serbia is in the house. Poland is in the house. We're international again. I'm going to take a sip of my very hot tea, and we're going to get started in just a minute. Okay. Oh, more San Diego black coffee. Nice. Morocco. Tea in Morocco. Now we're talking. I think you might be the first tea of the morning here. Well, my morning. Coffee in Israel. A lot of coffee. I see you all want to be alert for this. I get it. That's good. That's very, very good. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about keyword research, and mostly I'm going to answer your questions about keyword research. I get asked all the time, what is the way to do it? Which tool should I use? How would I know which keywords are correct? What are we even optimizing for? Where do I put the keywords? All these questions I get often. Now, I have many guides on what to do and how to do it, but I think it's easier when you have a question to just ask someone, and that's me, and that's why I'm here. So, like the last live stream, I'm going to start with a quick few short slides just to show you what I'm talking about and to give us a foundation so we can all be on the same page. Almost literally, because they're not physical pages, but you get the idea. So, let me switch to my computer and I'll show you what I prepared. Keyword research basics. Ta-da! Will this work? Let's see. Ta-da! Yeah, that does work. So I have just a few short slides just to set the foundation, and then we'll start taking questions in the chat. So get ready. So the first thing that I think has to be established is, what is the goal of keyword research? Why are we researching keywords? Why do we need them? What is going on? Why doesn't Apple and Google, why don't they just figure it all out? And the thing is, they just don't know. So we need to help them. And that's the one most important thing that we need to do, is we need to find keywords that will help the algorithm, Apple's and Google's, understand what the app or game, what it does. And then it knows what to do internally. So as soon as it knows that your app is about fitness or about gyms or about something else, it will know what to do with it on its own. But we have to tell it. If we don't tell it, it's just not going to work. Now, the other thing that is super important is we have to find all the ways that our users are asking for what it is that the app does. In different cultures, people use different words. Even within the same culture, people use different words to describe different kinds of intents. Some people want to go to the gym. Some people want to work out at home. Some people need a workout for the gym. Some people are thinking about it slightly different way. So always there is a variety of keywords. In most cases, you will find that different keywords drive different kinds of users, even though they're all about the same topic. So we have to understand what those keywords are, and there are tools to do that, and then we can use them. And then the last item on the list, which is very important, is you have to do better than your competitors. And in this particular case, to do better than your competitors, you have to find the keywords that they're just not seeing. You have to find the number 1 and number 2 from this list that they're just not doing a good job with. And we're going to see how to do that. If you bring up a question, I will answer it. Now, what we're working with is pretty straightforward. The name, the subtitle, the keyword list for the App Store, the name, the short description, the long description for Google Play. The names are pretty much the same across both stores. The subtitle and the short description are also pretty much the same across both stores. The long description and the keyword list are vastly different. Vastly different. And if you have any questions about those, I will take them as well. Now, what's the right keyword? Probably the most popular question that I get. And the answer is complicated because it isn't the one with the highest popularity score. It's the one with the popularity score that matches your app's strength. And it isn't the one with the lowest competitiveness score. It's the one with the lowest competitiveness score among your competitors or the keywords that you're looking at. And the bonus, and this is really what I always aim to do. This is the number 1 on my list. Not always possible, but that's what I want to do, is look for an opportunity. An opportunity is where you search for a keyword and all of the apps at the top don't have the keyword in the name. That's an opportunity. I was going to do a slide about this, but I did not get a chance to do it. So I'm going to add it later. Now, where I find keywords, because I think that's very important. I spend who knows how long looking for keywords, looking for the right keywords, and looking for keywords that will have an impact. And this is usually my waterfall of looking for keywords. Sometimes I don't go all the way to the bottom, but most times I do. So first, I start with what the app does, if it's a workout app or a calorie tracker or really whatever your app does. Take that and plump it into Keyword Inspector. That's where everything starts off for me. And then I look at what's working for competitors, because once I know who's competing with me on this keyword, I can easily take them into the competitor keywords tool and see what those competitors are doing and what's working for them. More important than what they're trying to do is what's actually working. And then I look for other related keywords, related, relevant. We have a tool for that as well. And that makes my life super simple. And then if I really want to dive in deep, what I do is I look at reviews for my apps and also for competitors, because your users and their users will tell you everything you need to know about about their intent, about what they're trying to do, about how your app can help them. And that's exactly what you want. You want to see how your app can help them, and you want to promote that. So I will read reviews if I don't have enough keywords, or if I don't feel like the keywords are strong enough, or if I just want to add more keywords, and then I evaluate them based on the slide we looked at before, where I look at is there popularity, does it match the strength that my app has, and I do that by looking at the competitiveness, by the competitive landscape. I also look at the competitiveness score, and I also look if it's an opportunity. So this is really an iterative process. Find keywords, evaluate them, find keywords, evaluate them. And now your turn. Ask me questions, blast me with everything you got. That's what I'm here for. So let's see, what do we have in questions? We'll start with Demetrius. So Dimitri is asking, what's your best strategy for choosing between keywords with similar popularity but different competition levels for iOS versus Google Play? So kind of like what I was saying before, I first zoom in on what I believe that the app can achieve. So that usually relies on number of new ratings. If there are 2 keywords with a similar popularity, and hopefully it's high enough, and one, the competitors have a lot of new ratings and the other they don't, or if one is an opportunity and the other is not, then that's how I will make that decision. If they're exactly identical, the popularity is identical, the competitors are identical, the number of ratings is identical, then I will go for the one with the lowest competitiveness score. And the reason for that is not exactly because of the competitiveness score. The relationship between popularity and competitiveness is very interesting. So popularity is a measure of how many people are searching for this, where competitiveness is a measure of how strong the apps at the top of the result set are. Now, a lot of apps are really strong, so you are likely to see very big gaps between competitiveness scores, where the popularity for your niche will likely remain pretty similar for the important keywords. So I look at the competitiveness score as a way to determine how fast are they growing. The competitiveness score is built on ranks and ratings and downloads and a whole bunch of other performance metrics. So the stronger they are, the more likely they are to get more ratings, and that means their DPR is probably lower. DPR is downloads per rating, and that's a measure that will help us understand how much quicker than us they can get more ratings and then rank better. So that's how I look at the competitiveness score. And it's the same for Apple and for Google. I just look at the competitive landscape on the particular store. So I don't copy and paste from Apple to Google. I don't use the same learnings from one to the other. I just look at whoever is ranking and make my decision off of that. Google's a little bit more I would say, complicated, because in addition to the popularity score, you also have to think about your keyword usage, especially how it's used in the long description. But I think that's a little bit more advanced and not really relevant here. Okay, next, Blight is asking how to rank higher on keyword that competitors above you are not using, while I'm using in the title and long description. Currently, my ranking for that keyword is number 10. I would imagine at that point that something else is going on. Now, you mentioned long description, so I imagine this is Google Play. On Google Play, there are a few other factors that help you with your ranking. The ratings are important. The keyword placement is important. The keyword placement in the long description is also important. So I would recommend throwing your description into the analysis tool we have for that, and see maybe you're not repeating that particular keyword enough. And even though you have it, the algorithm isn't seeing it. On Google Play, in the long description, repetition is key for the algorithm to see your app. So you have to repeat it, and it has to be the right number of times. Not too many, not too few. So we have a tool that analyzes that for you. If you try that, that's a good first step. The other step 2, I would look at your crashes, at your uninstall rate. It's very possible that you have too many crashes or too many uninstalls, and the algorithm just can't push you up. It wants to based on the keyword placement, but it really can't. Google really cares about that, where Apple does not as much or not at all. And so that's very important to pay attention to. The other thing that is really helpful on Google Play, and this is a much bigger headache, is inbound links from the web. Google actually cares about that stuff because it's Google and it knows how to read the web, where Apple doesn't really do it that much. So however many inbound links you have from websites, from forums, from blog posts, from really anything to your app will elevate the app's rank. And if the links in their tags have the keyword, that's exactly what you want. Now, that's a lot harder to chase down, and it's a lot harder to quantify, and that's why I don't talk about it as much. But start with optimizing the keywords in the long description and see if that gives you any sort of a bump. And if it doesn't, then start thinking about whether it's the uninstalls and crashes, and after that, then you can chase down those links. That's how I would go about it, at least. Okay, and I see we got a bunch more questions, so let's see. Faisal is asking if a keyword is popular and not used in titles per Appfigures, but search results show top-rated apps in that niche. Should I still include it in my app title? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by this question. So if a keyword is popular and not used in titles, but search results show top-rated apps in that niche, should I still include it in my app title? I think it would really depend on the ratings. If those apps have a lot of ratings, so let's say thousands of ratings, for example, and your app also has thousands of ratings, yeah, I think so. It's definitely worth an experiment to see if you can get into this particular keyword. If they have thousands and you have 10, probably not. It might work if you have the name, the keyword in the name, and they don't. but it really depends on that keywords gap. As long as you have, I would say, anything more than a good handful of ratings, you should definitely give it a try. And the way I would give it a try is using a localization if we're optimizing for the US. We have a guide on this. We'll drop that in the chat so you know what I'm talking about. But in the US, you can use multiple localizations to influence your app's ranking. So I would take one of those, try this, and see what happens. There's no downside to this. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, no one's going to know. So that's how I would go about this. And I should say, we put together a promo code specifically so if you are not on the right plan, you can follow along with me and try everything I'm trying. We're going to drop that into the chat very, very soon. So if you want to be able to follow along and use the tools that I'm talking about, and we'll probably use on screen very soon, and you don't want to pay full price because you're here, give that promo code a try, and that's going to save you a few bucks. Okay. Aaron is saying, my app is similar to YouTube Kids. It only plays YouTube videos for kids. Should I keep away from using the word YouTube? I think you have to. I don't think this is a choice. I think this is a requirement. YouTube is a registered trademark, and YouTube does not like when others use it. It's very possible also that the App Store will just hard reject you almost instantly. Now, the other problem is then what do you do? Because you have to use YouTube. If this is an app for YouTube, you have to use the word YouTube. Otherwise, you're really missing out. The one thing you could do is you can advertise outside of the App Store and kind of forego ASO for this. There is a small trick that I've used in the past in cases like these where the name that you want to target is 2 words. You can use you and tube in your keyword list where no one can see it because it kind of looks wonky. And the algorithm is going to put them together. It's not going to give you the most force, so you're not going to be the top competitor for that, or it's going to be very difficult to be the top competitor for that, but at least you could show up. So I would try that as an experiment, split you and tube, and see, one, you're not going to get a metadata rejection, most likely, but 2, see if that actually gives you any sort of performance. All right. Andrew is asking, does Apple treat hyphens as word breaks in keywords? Say my iOS app title has a term mind-body. Will Apple consider the app for mind and body separately in search results? Yes, they will. They will use this as a split, just like a space or a colon or a dash in this case, or an amp or any of those. The only thing is, if you're aiming for something like mind or body as its own keyword, those are going to be, because they're so generic, they're going to be incredibly difficult. So I think the better option here is for you to target something with body, of what it is that you are targeting, that, or what does the app do that has to do with body or has to do with mind, and use those and aim for those. So as opposed to aiming for mind and body with a dash, aim for only focus on mind in one of your localizations, and then also only focusing on body in another localization, which is a good way to say focus on one of those because they're not exactly the same in most cases. That's how I would go about it. Okay, continuing. Does it take time for keywords to settle after making a change? Should you only change once a week, month, etc.? That's a great question. Not a lot of people talk about this, but yes, it definitely takes time for keywords to settle. And the reason that happens is, if you think about the algorithm, is it's trying things. It doesn't know anything off its own training or anything like that. So it needs to try some things, and then if they work, great. If they don't work, try other things. Because ultimately, the goal of the algorithm is to make sure that users get the most relevant app, because that will drive a download and that could drive potential revenue, and that's how everyone wins. That's what it needs to do. And so the thing here is it will try your keyword as soon as you make a change. On the App Store, it's very, very fast. If you've made changes, you'll probably see some movement within a few hours. That's why our ranks in the Keyword Performance Report update every hour. It's a ton of work, but it means that you will have visibility as soon as stuff happens, and you will see how it changes. Because in most cases, and that's what we want, they're going up. But in some cases, they're going down. And when keyword ranks go down, that could potentially lead to loss of downloads. And so, yes, they will make, in most cases, they will change almost instantly, but it doesn't mean that they're going to stick at that rank for a long time. So I've seen apps that have traveled up or keywords that have traveled up almost instantly, but then came down. I've seen keywords that didn't move for a long time, and then ultimately after a week just bumped up because the algorithm was testing just to see what would happen with probably other apps. And when those didn't work out, then your change bumped in, and boom, the rank went up. So yes, I would say don't make changes in a period of, let's say, under 2 or 3 weeks on the App Store, because then you're really just potentially ruining your momentum. You're just confusing the algorithm. 2-ish weeks is probably the fastest I would do, not less. On Google Play, I would do it a little bit more slowly, mostly because the algorithm just takes a little bit more time to react to these sort of changes. And again, you don't want to confuse it. You don't want to start it thinking about this too many times. So 4-ish weeks, 3 to 4 weeks on Google Play, 2 to 3 weeks on the App Store. Not a big difference, but just enough to give the algorithms time to do what they need to do and learn your app. Now, the only caveat to this is if you see ranks dropping, ranks that are really critical dropping, aim to undo that as quickly as possible, because if you have a very competitive keyword that you are number 1 in, for example, and because of a change you're now number 2, you really don't want that. So undo as quickly as possible. It doesn't mean that undoing is going to actually undo the rank change, but it means that at least you're telling the algorithm, just kidding, I'm what you thought I was 2 minutes ago. So keep that in mind, and always watch your ranks. That's why it's so important to watch your ranks, especially if you have those top level positions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to maintain those as much as you can. Otherwise, no good. Okay, continuing. Okay, so this is referencing my slides. How do you tell an app's power? So by power, what I mean on the App Store, we'll start with the App Store, is the number of new ratings you're getting and your DPR. Your DPR is the indication of how quickly you will be able to get more ratings, and the number of ratings is the actual number of ratings, and that's what the algorithm looks at. And so if you're looking at 10 apps and they all have thousands of new ratings and you have 10, in comparison to them, you are very weak. And so it's going to take some sort of an opportunity, a keyword opportunity, for you to be able to compete with them. If you're all competing for the exact same keyword with the exact same keyword placement, it's going to be really, really tough. And we see stuff like that happening all the time with apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash and all those apps that do exactly the same thing. Ultimately, they all normalize across pretty much the same name, the same subtitle, and I assume even the same keyword list under the hood, because their main challenge is just getting more ratings. And so that's usually what I mean when I say power. On Google Play, it's a little bit more complicated. That's the foundation. But beyond that, you have how the keyword is repeated in the long description. You have inbound links, you have crashes, and stuff like that. So start with what you can see, and that's that, and then continue from there. That's the app's power. Always try to compete where you can compete. And if you can't compete on a specific keyword, trying to compete on it will mean you'll lose. So if you have infinite time, you can try and just realize that it's not going to work out. For most of us, there's no infinite time, so just skip it and find a different keyword to work with. Okay, continuing. Should you go for a keyword opportunity all competition rank for, or the one fewest competitors rank for? I think really neither. So what you're aiming for is you're aiming for keywords that have enough popularity, and you're aiming for keywords where you can compete. It doesn't matter if 100 of your competitors are competing over one keyword or 3, as long as you have the ability to rank really well. If you can rank above the 100 competitors, great. If you can rank well above the 3 competitors, great. It's really about your rank. Most of the users don't care. So if they see 3 apps that do exactly what they want, they'll probably go for the first one. And if the first one, maybe the price is not good, or maybe the video was not good, or maybe something else, the screenshots didn't do it for them, they'll go to number 2. But it's very rare that they will continue going down the list and go 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And so as long as you can rank in that very, very top, that's really what you're aiming for. How many other competitors are there is irrelevant. Now, it's probably likely that if there are many, many competitors in a keyword, it's going to be much tougher, because unless you're much better than them, you have more competition. So that's something I would look at when I look at the particular keyword. But just looking at the number, it's not very relevant in my opinion. Okay, Rita is asking, could you please demonstrate how to focus on keywords? And yes, so focus is very, very simple. Focus means that instead of taking multiple ideas and shoving them into a single metadata set, you're just using one. So in the previous example of mind and body, we need to figure out what is the mind, what is the body, and address those individually. So focus would be focusing on either mind and everything that comes with mind relaxation, mind other things. I can't think of anything mind related at the moment, but I'm sure there are many. And that's how you help the algorithm understand what's going on. Let me see if I can show you an example. So an example that I have that I've seen before, actually while being on stage at a conference, is what was it? It was, let's see if I can find it. It was, I believe it was Expedia. So let's take a look at Expedia and Keyword Inspector. And you will expect that Expedia is a very popular keyword, and it really is at a 67. And Expedia is the #1 result because it's its name. So that's pretty standard. But what we see here is we see that Expedia has hotels and flights and cars. And that's a lot of things that are going on. So if you look for hotel, also trip planner, travel deals. So it's got pretty much everything. It's aiming for everything. Now, you would imagine that at 70,000 ratings, it's going to own all of those things. And at a DPR of 10, which is amazing. I don't know if Expedia is in the house today, but if they are, well done. A 10 is like crazy, crazy low for any sort of big app, especially at 700,000 estimated downloads in the US alone. So this is amazing. But let's see if Trip Planner, which is in its keyword list, it's in subtitle, is a keyword that Expedia ranks well on. Trip Planner. And the answer is no. It is #9. It's got 70,000 new ratings. It's got it in the subtitle. And yet it is not #1. It's not #2. It's not #3. It's not #4. It's not #5. So if I'm looking for a trip planner, it's very unlikely that I'll get to Expedia as a user. 10 is just too many results, especially if you're considering that you can promote an in-app event, and that takes up 2 spaces. You can promote an in-app purchase. That's also kind of like a half a space. So by the time a user gets to maybe the 5th result, they're done. That's probably the most clicking, the most scrolling they're going to do. So the reason this is happening is because there's just so much going on here. And because there's so much going on, the algorithm doesn't know what to give all these ratings to. So it will give it to what it sees in the name and then some, but that's pretty much it. What you want to do if you want to focus, and that's exactly what we're seeing here, like for example, road trips. So road trips did it right. It has only 42 ratings, and the average rating does not matter. Can you see this? Yes, the average rating does not matter. Only the total matters. But it's in the name. It's in the name where no one else really has it in the name fully. So Tripsy doesn't have it in the name fully. TripAdvisor doesn't have it in the name fully. TripIt also doesn't. Wonderlog doesn't. And that's crazy because at a 42, it's, what is it? It's an order of magnitude less than 704. It's a lot less than 2,000. And it's a lot less than 5,000. So it's managing to rank in a place where users might be able to see it. #4, still pretty good, with very, very, very little in terms of power, in terms of performance. And that's really, really great. I mean, look at that DPR. This DPR is awful. 291 means that every single rating requires 291 downloads, whereas for TripAdvisor, every 17 downloads will generate a rating. That's so much faster, and that's why they're at 5,500, where this is at 42. That's really the difference. So when I talk about power, when I talk about opportunity, when I talk about focus, they're really all coming together to create this, exactly what's happening here. And I think that's kind of important. So that's what you want to do. This is the way to do it. Okay, continuing. Jan is asking, what about duplicating US title in MX subtitle? I heard algorithm can take that keyword from MX, so its strength is lower. Basically, we shouldn't duplicate keywords between locales in different spots. No, you should. I mean, no, you shouldn't. You can if you want to. So the question here is, should you take a keyword from one localization, let's say the US English, which is indexed in the US, obviously, and use it as the subtitle in Spanish Mexico, which is also indexed in the US? And the answer is, you can if you want to. Really, what I would do is use every localization independently as a single focus. Apple does not combine the localizations. So they combine the name, the subtitle, the keyword list in every localization independently, which means that whatever you use in English could be reused in Spanish, could be reused in Vietnamese, could be reused in French. That's really up to you if it is useful. So I would use them as separate focuses. I recently helped an AI app that does a whole bunch of stuff do this exact same thing. It's a cool AI app that has a bunch of different activities, and we used each localization for a different activity. So you can come up with, it can make a book for you, or it can talk to you, or it can explain a subject to you very simply, or it can help you with a language. It's an audio AI, a voice AI. And so it has all these things. And if you try to cater to them in a single localization with a name, a subtitle, and a keyword list, you're going to confuse the algorithm sufficiently. And exactly what happens to Expedia will happen to that app. And instead what we did was we used every individual localization to come up with exactly what works for that one particular activity. So Vietnamese is focused on language learning, where the app is actually #1 for accent training. Different localization is focused on story making, and that's how you have a lot more power. So highly recommended. You should definitely do that. It's the way to do it. Okay, Yassine is asking, how does the App Store treat apps that are available for pre-order? They appear in search results, but they have no ratings. So pre-orders are interesting. Pre-orders are used to get priority over everything else. So for a while, having a pre-order was an amazing, amazing way to get discoverability. That changed. So now pre-orders tend to not get any sort of discovery. And you'll notice this if you search the App Store. The last time I saw an app that was a pre-order for any of my searches was, I can't even tell you when that happened. So pre-orders tend to not get found. You have to drive traffic to the App Store or to Google Play for pre-orders all on your own for the most part. On the Mac App Store, it's a little bit different because there are many fewer apps. And so you're likely to come across those, but that's the Mac App Store. And that's a whole other ballpark. Okay, question from Umberto. My app can do a lot of different things. I think I know where this is going. Depending on how you use it, it's hard to focus on an audience because different people can use it for different things. Any suggestions? Yes, do exactly, like steal what I just said about the AI app, do it for your app. Super simple, must do. And I even have a whole Twitter thread on it, X thread on it. GT is asking how many downloads I could aim with a keyword like this: popularity 30, competitiveness 48. Of course, keyword in the title. That's such a hard question to answer. There's no easy way to back out how many downloads you will get from a popularity of 30. It depends on the kind of keyword it is, depends on the kind of user it is, it depends on a bazillion things. I know that a 30 at this point is still pretty good, and if you have 1 or 2 30s in your arsenal of keywords, you're going to get decent downloads. So again, really depends. I don't really know how to answer this. Kubra is asking, how do apps rank for such an enormous amount of keywords when it feels like the title and description are limited? Is it because previously used keywords remain indexed even after being replaced? Yes, that is exactly it. I wrote about this a long time ago. When I discovered it, it was like, because what's happening is everything you feed the algorithm stays in the algorithm. And that's the main thing. So if you update your keywords every 2 to 3 weeks, like we were talking before, or every month, every 2 months, whatever it is, as long as you're continuing to iterate, the algorithm will have some semblance of what happened in the past. The one caveat to this is it's not going to be as strong. So if you use the keyword in the past and you no longer are using it, the algorithm is not going to see it as extra relevant and plump you to the top, but it's going to remember that it was there at some point and that it worked. Now, using localizations where you have 10 chances at the 30, 30, and 100 characters, on the App Store specifically is definitely going to help as well, because that just 10x is the number of keywords you have. So if you can put, let's say, 10 keywords into a single localization, now you can do 100 keywords and not characters. So that's how you would do that. On Google Play, what you could do is you can use a variety of keywords in your long description. The Google Play long description is a gold mine if you know how to use it well. And once you do, it can be extremely helpful, especially if you couple it with something like inbound links and optimizing those, and also making sure that you have all of the other keywords really, really proper. So that's how you would do it on Google Play, and also on the App Store. Okay, Coding Cosmos is asking, using other localizations, does it really increase a lot your visibility? And if yes, which countries are critical for an English app? Absolutely. It's not that it increases your visibility. What it does is it offers you more spaces to use for keywords. If you choose the right keywords, it could increase your visibility. See where I'm going with this? We have a list of all of the languages. It's got French and Vietnamese and Russian and Chinese and a bunch of others. We probably already linked to the guide, and if we haven't, we will link to it in the chat, so make sure you keep an eye on that, and I'll probably also include it in a pinned comment after, so everyone can see it. Okay, let's see what else is going on. I'm catching up on chat. I don't believe it. Let's see what I can do. Do fewer keywords have more weight? Yes, absolutely. That's another way to focus. The algorithm has 100% of power to give you. And if you spread it across 10 keywords, then you get a 10th. If you spread it across 2, then each gets a half. That's kind of how it works. You don't have to fill the 30 characters that you have for the name, the 30 for the subtitle, the 100 for the keyword list, and the same on Google Play. You don't have to do that. And over time, the two have become so much more similar, with the introduction of a subtitle a few years ago, or a short description from Google, which mimics the subtitle on the App Store, with the reduction to 30 characters. So what we're talking about is pretty much the same when it comes to focus. When should we change the keywords after the app launches? 2 to 3 weeks. It really depends on what's working for you. You can give the algorithm a little bit more time, maybe another week, another 2, but it doesn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. A few weeks and you will be good to go. Now, I arrived at the promo code. So this is the promo code to follow along and be able to use the tool, just like the keyword inspector tool that I showed a few moments ago. If you want that discount, it'll be on the screen for a few more seconds as I drink some tea and maintain my voice. Okay, voice is back. Let's continue. Actually, before we continue, I should say, if you like what you're seeing so far, please give the video a like. Not the heart on the chat. I don't know what those do. But the like really helps the YouTube algorithm know that this video is awesome. And because of that, they're going to promote it and show it to other people. And when we get more views, we have more incentive to do this. So if you like this and you want to see me do more of these, which I enjoy doing, make sure to give the video a like. It will help a lot. Okay, continuing to the next question. Igor is saying, my app is number 5 for envelope budget, but I'm not getting many installs a day. Any ideas? Well, let's see. I think that's a very easy question to answer. Jump into my computer and look for, what was this? This was envelope budget. Oh, wow. A popularity of 22. That is amazing. I was expecting a popularity of 5, mostly because I don't know what envelope budgeting is. But okay, that's why we need to use tools. Obviously, got us strange. 23, updated just now. So I think that the challenge with something like this, in my opinion, is it's very niche. And so if I'm looking for an envelope budget or budget, whatever this is, envelope budget and planner, oh, okay. I think I see what's going on. Are you targeting envelope because of the competitor envelope, this one? Or is this literally like budgeting for envelopes? Because budgeting for envelopes is one thing I didn't know was a real thing. But going after a competitor name is challenging. So if that's the case, if you're going after a competitor name, which I see everyone is kind of doing here, or 3 out of the top 5, I think that's going to be a little bit challenging if you are not Envelope, the company that is the budget tracker. But if it's a budget planner that has nothing to do with envelopes, I think that could be the main challenge. Now, this is also to say that a 23, while nice, is probably, in this particular niche, not getting enough users who are that curious. So it's probably getting enough people that are landing on the #1 result and like it and download it and just continue on with life. They're not looking to explore all the envelope budget trackers. And if I understand this correctly, I would imagine this is because envelope is a brand name. And so when they see the brand name and it's in all of the metadata, that's what they're looking for, and that's what they're coming into the App Store to do. So they're not going to shop around. Most keywords that are just intense, you will have people shopping around, and then if you're number 5, you will get some visibility. Whereas if it's a specific brand name, you're not very likely to get visibility, and that's why I don't think it makes sense to target competitors. Now, if I'm wrong about this, let me know in the chat, but otherwise, continuing. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, so in the keyword list in general, what works better, single words or combination of 2 words for less competition for those words? Good question. I'm glad you asked. Never use 2 keywords together. Never use keywords with spaces. Just a total colossal waste of time. I have a whole guide on how Apple optimizes or how Apple reads the keyword list from the App Store, from App Store Connect. It's not something that Apple has. I'm not sure why. I wish they would have explained it. I think it makes sense. There are no black hat checks or anything like that. It's just really straightforward. But I reverse engineered it many, many years ago, and it's still the same now. We'll link to that as well, but you never want to use multi-word keywords because they're useless. They don't help you at all. They just take up space. We even have a tool that will optimize those out for you, and we'll handle it the right way. Just because it's one of those things that everyone thinks that's the way to do it. I'll just repeat the keywords and everything will be so much better, but it isn't. You want to use 1 word with a comma, no space. Nurix is asking, if your keyword works good, then your impression should be more. That's correct. That's kind of the idea. More keywords, better keyword ranks, better impressions. Ideally also better downloads, but that has to do with how your screenshots are and a few other things on the page that we've explored in previous live streams. Okay, Ron's asking, my app is unique, focused on losing weight with friends and family. Nice. I rank for 1,800 keywords, but many have low search volume for high popularity keywords. Continuing here. My rankings are low. I'm getting lots of impressions, but few conversions. Any suggestions to improve downloads? So you see, that's just what we talked about. Getting many impressions is very, very good, but there's a difference between impressions, which is someone saw you in the App Store or on Google Play, and page views, which is people actually tapped on your listing and continued on to download the app. Now, it doesn't mean that they downloaded the app, but it means that they went into the app's page to potentially download the app. So first of all, what I would do is I would look at the conversion rate between impressions and page views. Look at unique impressions and unique page views. We have both of those in the usage report where you can see them. If that conversion rate is very high, then let's say it's 40 or 50%, then you know that the icon is not the problem, for example, or the name is not the problem. It's very possible that the name is the problem and it's off-putting to some people, or the icon is the problem. It's not demonstrating what the app does. Then what you can do, if the page views are high but the downloads are low, if that conversion rate is, let's say, 3% or 4% or something really, really low, then what you have to focus on is, what does the page experience look like? Are the screenshots telling the story? Are they telling the right story? Are they using the right fonts? Are they inviting? And I've done a bunch of videos on this. We also have a guide on this, which you can use, and then you should A/B test those, and that should help you get more downloads. Okay. What's next? I thought I was catching up on chats, and then we got a whole bunch more. But I'm going to continue. For a new app, would you try to optimize for ratings? For example, offering a cheaper subscription until you have a decent amount of ratings. I think that's really, really challenging. It totally depends on the app. And I don't think you can lower the price of your app in order to get a rating. If you try to do that, very, very straightforward, Apple will give you a rejection. And so that's not exactly what you want to do. Incentivizing ratings is illegal. But what I would say is if you have a free trial, if you have a free offering, if you have an easy way for someone to use the app for the first time, once, twice, make sure you ask them for a rating really as quickly as possible. It's one of those things where if you ask too early, they're not going to know if they like the app, and that would be a waste. And if you ask too late, they may not get to that part. So you really want to ask as early as possible where it makes sense. F5 is asking, is the goal to get top 5 in as many relevant keywords as possible and disregard keywords where they rank somewhere in the 10 to 100 range? Yes, that is ideal. That is not realistic, but that is ideal. That's what you should be aiming for, because below 5, the discovery just drops so much. And below 10, it's almost negligible. So yes, you want to get 1 to 5, as many of those as possible. In order to get to those, you have to really aim for as many as possible. And the way I do this is I look at the trends of keywords. If I add a new keyword and I see that it's slowly being bumped up by the algorithm, then I know that I should focus on it a little bit more. If I add a keyword and I see that nothing is happening, maybe it's been positioned 178 and it stays there for weeks, I'm just going to drop it. It's irrelevant. It doesn't really help. So see what works, double down on it. See what doesn't, kick it out. That's how I go about these things. Demetrius is asking, is it worth targeting high competition keywords on iOS if the tap through and conversion rates are strong, even if I'm not top 5? I am not sure I can answer that question because it's almost impossible to know the tap through and conversion rates on specific keywords. So if you are sure that people are swiping all the way to the bottom below top 5 to get your app, if you're 100% sure or 98% sure, but I don't know if I can say that with certainty. I probably wouldn't. I would aim for always being the top result in any keyword that I choose, as long as the popularity is greater than 5. And if the popularity is 5, I would aim for as many of those 5s as possible. So if I have 1,000 5s where I'm number 1, that will also end up giving me more downloads. Maybe not as many as other kinds of keywords, and that's a strategic decision more so than anything else, but that will work. Getting to 1,000 5s is also fairly challenging, so that's why I'm not saying you should go and do that. Squash is asking, is there a way to use localizations to focus on different keywords in Google Play? And the answer is no. Google just doesn't do that. The fact that Apple does that is amazing, but Google doesn't. Google has the long description and also that relationship with the web, and those are, in my opinion, infinitely more flexible and more rewarding, but we use the tools we have for each store independently. Okay, a long question, so I need some tea. Okay. Let's see. So Mustafa is asking, are symbols like amp, comma, or colons necessary to separate keywords in title, subtitle? Does using them affect impressions or indexing? Is hugs and amp kisses generator better than hug kiss generator? Question mark. So necessary? No. No one is really forcing you to properly and grammatically have a name. But as we talked about previously with Ron's question, it comes down to users. If someone sees hug kiss generator, they might think that this is a shady app that just stuffs keywords. It's not going to feel good. And they may not even verbalize it. They may not understand it consciously, but subconsciously, they may just not get it. And they're going to move on to the next one. So you want to sell to people. You have to sell to people. People ultimately download your app, not the algorithm. So we have to merge both. I would always go for the grammatical proper way of writing things because that's just how I like to do it. And I know that ultimately that's how users read it. Ultimately, again, you're not optimizing for computers. You're optimizing for humans. We're just using the algorithm to get to humans, and that's how we get the downloads. You can test this if you really want to. So you can try one, give it a few weeks, see what kind of rankings you get, see the impressions, see the page views, figure out that conversion rate, and then swap it to the AMP and see if that makes any noticeable change. I think it would. So maybe start with the AMP first so you can get as many downloads as possible. iCarmode is asking, do you have a good prompt for AI to help with finding good keywords? No. So This is interesting. A few years ago, when ChatGPT just came out, I did a live stream on how I use ChatGPT to find keywords. And back then, ChatGPT was considerably different. It was much more basic. It was much simpler. And it was also better because it would just give you straight up answers. Today, the main challenge is you don't need scale. You don't need bulk. You don't need a lot of keywords. What you need is the right keywords. So if ChatGPT finds you 1,000 keywords with no way of cleaning them up and giving you just the top 5, you're going to sit in front of a keyword inspector for days trying one keyword at a time, or maybe a few at a time, just to see if they're 5s, if they're 10s, just to understand the targeting and understand the top results. And that's kind of wasteful. Instead, what I would do is I would look at competitor keywords. Competitor keywords, to me, are the ultimate source for keywords. I start there, and I usually even end there. I don't cascade all the way down. Sometimes I don't even have to look at related keywords because competitor keywords will give me enough. That on the side, we are looking at ways in which we can utilize AI to identify more keywords more quickly using our data. So specifically AI trained on our data. I didn't say anything, so you didn't hear me say this, but maybe that will be available in the future. Okay, next. I actually skipped one. Am I understanding the localizations properly in that English users can get targeted by our Chinese localization when searching, but it's completely separate from our English for the algorithm? I'm not entirely sure what you mean here, but I think so. If I understood this correctly, I think so. What the algorithm does is it will read your English localization and extract all the knowledge it can about your app, store that. Then it will read your Chinese localization, both simplified and not, and will extract and keep that knowledge also about your app. And it will do that across 10 languages. And then all of those knowledge pieces will be used when a user in the US in English is searching. So yes, and yes. Okay, let's continue. So the next one was, what about using only the app name localization for the keyword hack, but not keywords themselves, i.e. not creating the localized screenshots? Is the impact of the app name a lot better than the keywords? Yeah, so you don't have to change your screenshots for this. You really, really don't. You could, but the thing is, the localization the user will see is their localization. So even though you updated your keywords in, let's say, Vietnamese to have a totally different topic. So let's say in the case of the AI app, one localization is reserved for accent training, and another is reserved for creating books. So let's say that in English, it's all about accent training, and in Vietnamese, it's all about books. If someone in the US searches for books, they will end up seeing the other localization. So they will end up seeing their localization in English. And what that means is that they might be a little bit confused. The thing is, you can't really fix that. You can't change the screenshots to be that too. And that's why your main localization, your English localization, should have all of the use cases. So when someone lands on it, they may not see it initially, but they will see it through the screenshots, through the subtitle, through the name. So that should be as encompassing as possible, where everything else should be as specific as possible. Oh, wow. We're running out of time. Let's see what I can do, what else I can answer. Tamaraz is asking, I've submitted my app many times for teardown, and I'm working on its ASO for more than 8 months, but it's not working. Continue submitting them. I do them completely random. I don't have control over who gets picked. We get hundreds of submissions every time, and I can only do 6, 7, 8 on screen. So that's unfortunately always going to be the case. I don't have a better way of doing this. If anyone has a better suggestion, please let me know. Otherwise, continue submitting them. ASO is an iterative process. Make sure that you follow the best practices and make sure that you are only targeting the kind of keywords that you can compete over, and make sure you're optimizing for getting new ratings. That's going to be really the foundation that I would give you to go and make ASO useful for you. Ooh, follow up on the AI. One prompt I found with AI in general is you could say something like, you are an App Store user searching for apps based on cars. Give me a list of keywords that you would search for. That's interesting. And I think that could help you, this kind of activity could help you build maybe an understanding of what users are searching for I wouldn't take that list and do anything automated with it. What I would do is use that to build an understanding of what's going on, and then go into tools like Keyword Inspector, related keywords, and try to take some of those keywords that make sense to you and obviously fit best with your app, and research those, look at the competitors, and go from there. Okay, Sid, I'm not even going to try and say this because it's too late and we don't have a lot of time, but is the popularity the actual search popularity or the competitiveness of search ads that corresponds to high traffic? There's only one popularity in Apple land, and it is coming from Apple search ads, or Apple ads as they're now called. There are actually two popularities within Apple ads. One is related to your app and one isn't. We take the one that isn't. So that's the one that is more likely to be as representative as the amount of downloads. That is based on the number of searches, in general in the store. So that's the most accurate metric we have. We don't try to merge any metrics. We don't take web data. None of that is useful. So what Apple does is what we want to do. Okay, a follow-up from Igor. Envelope budgeting was not going after a competitor. Envelope budgeting is a style of budget tracking. Okay, cool. I learned something new today. So really what I would do there, and let's see if I still have it open. I still have it open. What I would do here is aim for why is this not working as well? And I think if you're number 5, then it has to do with ratings. There aren't that many ratings in this niche at all, which is a huge opportunity for you. It means that if you push a little bit better, maybe ask the downloads you're getting so far, maybe ask a little bit more aggressively, maybe run some Apple ads for a little bit just to get that like 10, 15, 20 with 10, 15, 20 with the app in its name, with the keyword the way you have the keyword. I think even 15 will give you a much better rank. And then with a much better rank, you can probably continue to spend on ads, and that system will feed itself. So then you can continue growing, and that will give you more organic downloads. So your key really is you have to get to the top of this list. That's where I would look at this. The other thing is I would look at, is envelope budget better than envelope budgeting? Oh no, interesting. Envelope budgeting is a 5. And a totally different set of apps. I wonder if that's an opportunity here. I'm just talking to myself at this point. No envelope budgeting. Okay. Interesting that they're not up higher. I wonder what they're doing wrong. In any case, this is interesting, but that's what I would do. I would try to get a few more ratings. If you're 5, I think you said you're 5, and try to come up the list a little bit. I think even at 10, you can get to probably number 2 fairly easily. 2 and just a few more, and you can battle for number 1. And that's really going to make life a lot easier for you. So that's that. Now, I should mention that you can do everything that I've done. I only showed my screen a few times, but you can do all of this. So your next step should be, what are the keywords that I'm competing for, following really the slide that I had before, and that is, what is my keyword? Let's put this back on the screen. Different screen. So what does the app do? Take that and put that into Keyword Inspector, what I just did. Then what is working for competitors? Take those top competitors and analyze them. And we can even do this for budget tracking, for envelope budgeting. We'll take these and we can open them and see all their organic keywords. And so now we can see what's working for who, and also what's working for who's the most competitive one. I believe it's this one out of those. Who is the least? This one, which is number 1, oddly enough. So there are so many opportunities here that I see out of 2,000 keywords for these top 5 apps. This is incredible. And this is a popularity of 23. So I'm imagining there are many, many more opportunities here. Let's see if we can find envelope within this. Yeah, so there are, okay, not that many opportunities in envelope specifically, but here you can see what's working for them. And that's the kind of thing that you can take and then improve your app with. Because even though it's the style of budgeting, the envelope budgeting that I now am aware of, but there are also so many other things that you can do to rank. And we can look at what's working for envelope, the company, envelope budget, envelope, Apple Pay budgeting. Interesting. Cube Money. Okay, so going after competitors. And then also see what Good Budget is doing, because they have a lot of #1 placements. So I would scour this, and that's what I would do. And you can go and you can do this right now for any app, for your apps, for competitor apps, using Appfigures. And if you want that promo code, you can do that too. But that should be really your next move, Inspector, going into the organic keywords. That's really what I do all the time, my 1-2, and those get me really all the results that I need. Now, I know there are more questions in the chat that I do not have time to respond to. I will do my best to get to them at some point later today. I say this all the time, and sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. It's the thought that counts. Actually, there aren't that many questions. Great. So I will definitely get to these at some point today. And that's all I have for you today. If you have any other questions, you can ask me on X, you can ask me on LinkedIn. I love answering questions there. You can also email me. I get the emails. I try to get the emails fast. I'll see it on social media a lot faster these days. But yeah, that's the basics and the fundamentals of keyword research. That's how I do it. And that's how I iterate and find more keywords and more keywords and more keywords and eventually get to that #1. That's all I have for you today. I'm going to be back in a few weeks with another live stream where I take your questions. And then later in the summer, I have a whole thing planned about TikTok. It's going to be amazing. So make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter to see when I do this. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for me. I will see you all in a few weeks.